Hello everybody, welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can save your favorite functions in a file, and you can use that file to build a library or a module that you can import in another file, in another program, so that you can use those functions that you saved. Okay, so I do it with two examples. So it is a file that I call it my stats functions module. So I have two functions that do statistics. One does the mean, the other one does the standard deviation, and I use my own technique to do that. That's irrelevant, that's not my point here in this video. My point is that I save those functions in its own file, right? It just so happens, for curiosity, that my mean uses one of those flexible variables with the asterisk, because when I calculate the mean, I may send one number, two numbers, three numbers, as long as it's more than one number, to take the average between the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, a bunch of numbers to get the mean, the average of those numbers, and another one for the standard deviation, right? The point being, I have two functions, right? So I keep them in a file, and the file doesn't do anything. It's just the def and the functions. I did include a comment so that when I run them, I know what to expect the results are, but that's just documentation. The functions themselves are just plain functions from beginning to end, just the function. All right. So then next to it, and in the same folder of my computer, I'm going to have a program that is going to bring those functions in. It's going to import those functions. So the way you do that is by going to the import command, and after import, you're going to import the name of the file. So this is the same name of the file, which is my underscore stats underscore ftns for functions underscore module. That's the same name of the file that I just showed you a second ago. And just for practical purposes, next to it, I wrote as my, so that when I use it, I'm going to use the dot notation. So every time I use the dot notation, instead of typing all of this long word, I'm just going to type my, and then a dot, and then the name of the function, the parentheses, the parameters, etc., which is what I'm going to do right here, right below. Okay, so let's see. So for the first example, I'm going to run it, and I'm going to call the mean of a sample, and I'm going to say my dot mean underscore s, and then the numbers that I send. And it's important that this mean underscore s is the same name of the function that I have in my module that I'm importing. So let's go there. So you can see it is mean underscore s and then the parameters. So in this case, the parameters will vary. So I have a bunch of parameters right here. And when I run it, first I'm going to need to do is import my module and my functions with it, and then run the functions that are in there. So I'm going to run the mean, and I'm going to run the standard deviation. So ready for this? I'm just going to run the entire program. I do that with this. I cleaned up my my console. There is nothing in there, and there is nothing in the variable explorer, and nothing on my console. So I'm just going to run the entire file. I don't need to go in and run my stats functions module. This call, this import, is going to do it for me. Okay, so let's do that. Let's run the whole thing by clicking on this run. And there you go. It just ran the whole thing. So as you can see, I got my results, and it's what I expected. The first thing that it did, it loaded my library, as you can see right there. It loaded my library. The second thing it did, it ran this function right here, and it printed the results, which you can see right here. It printed the results. The mean mu is equal to 6.0. That's right there. The mean mu is equal to the result, and it's exactly what we expected. We expected 6.0, so it's working. And then the second one that it ran is this one right here, and it says the standard deviation is equal to, you can see it right there, is equal to the result sigma, and that's 3.02, 765, etc. And as you can see, if I go to my comments right here, that's what I was expecting. So it's running. You can see it's running. So I expected a 6 when I entered these numbers, and I expected this number when I enter the same numbers. So just for tests, right? Let's run this function, and now let's see if we can change the numbers. So let's change this. Let's copy and paste this. Let's copy and paste that below right here, and let's change the inputs to, let's say, only 2 numbers, 1 and 2, and the same thing for the standard deviation. Let's just enter 1 and 2. And let's just run this line first. And I'm going to go here. I select these 2 lines, 36 and 37. And I'm going to run it. It runs and it says the mean mu is 1.5. In fact, you can see it on the Variable Explorer, 1.5 over there. So it's 1.5, which is the average between 1 and 2. 1 plus 2 is 3, divided by 2 is 1.5. And the standard deviation of that, so I'm going to select the next 2 lines, 39 and 40, and run them. And the standard deviation is 0.7071, which I think is 1 divided by the square root of 2. Well, the bottom line, that's the standard deviation that my function calculated. The bottom line, the most bottom line here is that I was able to run these functions by importing my very own library. As long as I use the dot notation, I import the name of the same file without the py, just the first part of the file. It has to reside in the same folder, otherwise it's not going to find it unless I do some other tricks. That's something we can learn later. And I do an S to abbreviate with my. So every time I use it, I have to put my dot and then the name of the function. So it's the dot notation that I am using right here. Okay, so that's it. Now you know how to create your own modules, your own libraries, and how you can use them. Why do you want to do that? To organize yourself, to save your good functions, and maybe you want to share them with your team, and your team is some other member of the team may be creating other functions that they will share with you. All right, I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.